Yo, guys. Hope everybody's having a good day. One thing that's been coming up a lot, with my students, a little horsey going off for no reason. One of the things that's been coming up a lot with my students lately is communication issues, right? And this is something we talk about all the time. That goes on inside the industry. I mean, we all understand it. Of that communication is an issue for a lot of us, and we know at the end of the day that it's a huge piece. But the biggest part, Danny, what's up? But the biggest part, guys, I want to talk about today was that my experience with communication and why I sucked at it and what I learned, and a big part of what I now talk to our students about, right? So one of the biggest issues I always deal with students that comes up, and it's real common, is that they're afraid to go talk to their coach, right? That's like always a hot button, is that I can't go talk to my coach. So when I look back on my experience, as a young adult and so as a child and all that, when I look back, there's two things that I remember and that I became aware of a big reason of why I sucked at communication. So the two biggest things, right? Number one was experience. It was easy to have regular, normal conversations, right? We day to day, we all shoot the shit and stuff like that, and we just have a normal conversation with each other. But as soon as you start to get into a tough topic or something that's hard, right, that's not an easy thing to do. And the experience when I was younger, there was none of that. There wasn't talking about, something that, hey, mom, dad, I don't agree with you on this, or hey, coach, I don't agree with you on this, or I don't understand where you're coming from. There was none of that. In the old school days, forget it. In the old school days, it was shut your mouth, do as you're told, and you listen to your authority, and that's it. Coach is coach, keep your mouth shut, right? So a lot's changed in that regard of being able to express ourselves and talk more about that. So the experience of growing up, never having those chances to learn, whether it was with teachers, at home, with coaches, friends, there was none of that experience growing up to feel that and sense what it is. So when I talk about experience, I mean the one thing that always comes up to my players is that you go and you work on a skill. You're shooting, you're skating, you're passing, whatever it is. We work on those skills. How do you get better? You experience the process, you get better at it, and the more time you spend doing the process of it, the better you get. You experience it more, so it becomes easier. That's no different with communication. It's a skill like everything else. If you don't have the chance to practice tough skills, right? And if you don't have that chance to talk and create, or whatever you want to call it, or go through those experiences of having those tough conversations as a child, into your young years, teenage years and all that stuff, there's no way to be able to go and be good at it later on. So we always question that, we struggle with it, but experience is number one. You've got to feel it. You've got to sense what it is and know and go through it, right? And one of the things I talked to one of my younger students the other day was that I gave him the example of, hey, listen, and this was a 12-year-old student. So I said, you're going to suck at it at first. You're going to suck. You're going to go in. You're going to be nervous. You're not going to know what to say. I gave him some words of you just want to know from coach. You just want to go talk to coach and ask, this is what you want to know. But in the beginning, just be ready for it. It's not going to feel right. You're going to feel awkward. You're going to go in there and you're not going to know exactly how to say it the right way. That's okay. But that's the point. Right now, you do it now, and then as time goes on, you're going to get better at it. But you have to step up to the plate and go and be able to ask. Right? You have to go be able to say, you know what? I want to talk to you about something that feels uncomfortable to me. And so that's a big piece, is the experience part, is that we don't get enough of that in tough conversations, right? That I feel awkward going to my boss, right? Saying to the owner, hey, this is how I feel because I might get fired, right? I feel awkward going to my teacher because if I go say something, well, then are they going to fail me in class, right? I feel awkward going to my friend because then if I say this, well, then maybe they're never going to talk to me again. There's always these awkward conversations that come up that we don't have enough practice in. So experience was number one. The second thing, which is a big one, is the image in my mind of what I think is going to happen. Well, if I go say that, then, oh my God, you're going to hate me forever. If I go say that, I'm going to go get fired. I can't say that, right? So, I can't go talk to coach and say that because then I'm going to get blackballed and the coach is they're just going to tell everybody and that's it. The image in our mind, right, that we create this story of what's about to happen, what's about to go on. That's what creates the problem, is because we're not coming from a place of thinking through it in terms of, hey, I can go to you, nice, under control. I can come in, you know what? This is how I feel. Come to you with a regular tone, and that's it. The image in your mind is, this is bullshit, or, oh, you hate me, or whatever it is. So you have this image in place of what you think it is, and you're thinking about it as, I'm going to go in and talk to this person that way, versus you don't see the other side because, again, you haven't experienced it. Right? You don't feel the other side of it. And that's a big part of that when I think about, my past and when I became aware of this, and I really started to really zone in about, 6, 7 years ago now, is that those were the big things. Is in my mind, it was the image, right? And that's a big part that I talk about with the students now is we have that image of what we think is about to happen instead of just going and doing it and then what happens, right? As an example, I always say to players, I'm like, think about how many times you've gone and talked to your coach and then did it turn out the way you thought it was going to turn out? And it's like 99% of them, almost 100 basically say, no, not at all, coach. Like it turned out fine. And that's the point right there is that you've experienced where the couple times that you had it, everything was fine. You felt a lot better. But in your mind, you have this image of every time it surfaces, you're going back to all your other experiences of, I can't say that to an adult, or I can't say that to an authority figure. I can't say that to my boss. We all have that image in our mind of what we think is about to play out. And that's where the issue comes in. And so, from my own experiences, I know that those were things I sucked at growing up. Is I didn't have the experience, and the image in my mind, so many times I replayed this and put it in my head of, well, this is what's going to happen if I say this. And I would just think of all these crazy scenarios because I just think in general, right, of what could go down. And that's what would trip me up a lot of times. And I've worked through that. And even to today, right? Even today, my communication's gotten better, but it's nowhere near even close to where I want it to be. But I'm aware of, I need to keep getting better with it, right? I still struggle with those parents that are they just see it their way and they don't see it any other way. And I eventually get to a tipping point where that's it. I can't express myself to you anymore. You're so frustrating. There's no way to do it in a calm manner. And I just my tone, it's not that I'll freak out on them, but my tone will change and you can tell I'm not happy, right? I'm not happy and we're kind of done. We're past the point of talking in a civil way. And, that's the part where I'm always aware of it and trying to get better at it. And I'm always pushing the envelope to have tough conversations with people and to learn that skill set because that's where it comes from. So, getting into that environment is what's going to allow you to experience it, right? And see and produce an image that's, I went through this conversation. It wasn't so bad. I came out of it. I feel a lot better. It's not as bad as I thought. And the more you keep building that up and the more you keep experiencing it and the more you keep on, getting after it and the more images you develop of, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, the easier it gets. And I'm not talking, just from coaching this and telling this, I'm talking from my own personal experiences that tougher conversations, I'm getting better and better at it. There's, politically even too, right? And I'm not making this a political thing, but I stayed away from it for a while because I didn't want to get into tough conversations. And then I realized, no, I'll get better at it. Yeah, I'm nervous about saying some things because maybe I'm not as educated on the history and understanding it. But you know what? I'm going to jump in on how I feel, from what I'm experiencing. And you know what? I'll learn in the process. I'll learn as I go, right? But that's a big part of what I've taken away, inside of my journey of how much I sucked at it, growing up. I understand why, right? Between the experiences that I had and the images that I had in my mind of what I thought, it was supposed to look like. But now that I've become aware of that, now it's my job to put myself into the environment that's going to make me better at it, or it's my job to just keep understanding and learning and getting better and figuring out, all right, well, what are the topics that might not be so easy to discuss? Let's discuss, right? So that was my experience with communication. I'd love to hear from you guys. I know a couple of you guys ended up jumping on there. Sorry, guys, the way the camera goes and all that. I just wanted to kind of, say my piece on it, but what are things that you've become aware of? I'd love to know that. Like, what are the things that through life, maybe you became aware of that, these are reasons maybe of why my communication wasn't so great, or that I learned and understood that, yep, this needs to happen. Because for me, it was definitely experience and image were two major points. And that's a big thing now that I always try to talk to the students about and make sure that they understand that, hey, you got to learn, you got to jump in, you got to figure it out. It's going to take time, but you will figure it out. And then that's what's going to produce a more, positive image of the outcome of what can happen is that, hey, the better you get at it, the more confident you're going to get at it, right? And the more positive experience you're going to have, the better and better the image is going to come in your mind of like, you know what? It's not so bad. Maybe I can have a tough conversation with coach. And you know what? Maybe it doesn't always turn out the way exactly I want to, but at least now we feel better. We're on the same page and we can move forward. And so those are things that, I've taken away, and hopefully, from your own personal experiences, guys, it resonates. I'd love to hear other examples, but the idea and, the things that we're doing now, a big part of what I'm trying to zone in on and keep hammering away at is, from a communication standpoint, is challenging that, getting after it, figuring out how to get, into those environments. And then another big thing is that, a little teaser, that coming soon, coming soon is that me and the missus got something coming that when it comes to communication, something that is near and dear to our hearts that we're going to end up jumping out on to keep this conversation going and to start to get into tougher conversations, but in a healthier way and in a positive light. So hopefully you guys are having a good day. Thank you for, listening. Again, any feedback, I'd love it, guys, whether it's commenting below or private message. I want to keep learning. I want to understand more about this venue, right? More about it. I want to know more about communication. What can I do to help you guys become better at it? What can you guys teach me to become better at it? Because that's the whole point of what this is all about, right? It's about tough conversations. That's how we grow. We grow through stress. We go through that stuff, but that's what it's all about. And that's what I'm feeling as of late. And that's a big thing that I want to continue to, talk about and try to inspire, as we keep moving along, over the course of the next, few months and obviously years, the rest of my life. So that's the plan right now. So thanks for listening again, guys, and see you soon.